Yo, what up, man? It's the one and only Smooth Vega, and as you can see, by all means, we are pushing forward with more content for you. Please subscribe and donate to keep the platform moving. Even $1 can help us keep producing more content. NothingBeatsExperience.com. Make sure to donate. The link is in the description. It's also pinned to the top of the comments. I hope you enjoy the show. You already know Nothing Beats Experience. Let's go. Come on. Yo, you already know what it is, man. It's the one and only, and we're back. I got the one and only Royce, the 5'9", joining me, man. Royce, how are you doing? How you have been, man?
I'm good, man. How you feeling, my brother?
Feeling good, man. You know, I got to share a lot of stories with you, man. You know, I've always told you this, man, but you're one of the people that means a lot to me, man. You know, you've done a lot for me in my career, and I want to share some stories that I haven't had an opportunity to share with you, man. So first things first, I interviewed Parks from the world-famous Joe Budden podcast recently, right? And my boy Parks and me were raving about how you're the greatest rapper alive, and we were just raving about you. But then he started talking about how great of a person you are, and I have to attest to that, man. You're an amazing person. But, man, let me tell you something. I told him on the phone that day that I don't know what it is about you, bro, and I say this with the utmost respect, man. Like, just being around you, I still feel like a fan, man. I still see this power when I see you, Royce. So I know Rosenberg did that video recently about giving you your flowers, man. So I have to let you know that you're that special to me, brother.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that, man. Thank you for those kind words.
Man, you know, and I want to say this because you actually brought me on stage the last time you were in Dallas. And you might not know this, but it was a really meaningful moment for me because I was going through a really dark period of my life at the time. A lot of people didn't know. It was a really bad time. So for you to put your arm around me on stage, it meant so much to me. And it kind of brought me back to that story that I shared on stage, which I think I told you this before, but to the general public that doesn't know this story, back in the MySpace days, I was a very persistent young teenager, and I would bother the hell out of you and Kino. But I remember on the bulletin board, I think you were in jail for like an extended period of time. And I was actually writing you fan mail while you were in jail, man. So to have an opportunity to work with you years later, it was a dream come true that day, man. So I have to let you know again, man, how meaningful that was to me, man.
Man, thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate that. I don't really know. I don't know if I can come back with something that can top that.
Well, man, let's talk.
One thing I can say though, man, is that I think a lot of times we overlook like the small things. We overlook things, you know, that we could do that we won't even know we helping each other through dark times. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why it's just like, that's what I try to instill in my son. You know what I mean? Just like, just do the right thing. You know what I mean? Like, just do right by people. Don't have malice in your heart. That's why I think it's really important to find resolution with things. Like if it's something in the air with somebody or something like that, just getting yourself accustomed to not hanging on to things, I think is a good way to be able to project good. You know what I'm saying? Like not holding on to bad is a good way to project good. You know what I mean? So that feels way better than just like negativity all the time. You know what I mean? And it's like in this game, we pretty much get trained to think really short-sighted. You know, and on the business end, you're pretty much trained to be more savage and cutthroat than fair and reasonable. You know what I mean? Because, you know, everybody's feel like they're in like a race. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody think they're racing somewhere. It's not. It's just like this shit is more even killed than people think. It's like just being in the ocean. You know what I mean? It's just waves. It's no real person, you know what I'm saying, better than anybody else. You know what I mean? Like you give somebody a Grammy, that person got a statue, this person don't have a statue. At the end of the day, it all comes down to the music, and people's opinions vary in music.
And I want to touch on that because I'm in the belief of, you know, there's really no right or wrong in terms of like, you know, by the book. You know, it's your perspective, my perspective, and it's all based on how you view it. You know what I'm saying? Now, I know that the further that you've gone in the game, man, you've really taken that veteran standpoint. And, you know, I've seen you perform endless times. And one of the things that I enjoy about watching you perform is when you start commanding the stage and you start really talking to people and really giving your journey, because, you know, you've been through a lot, man. And, you know, I want to say this going into this specific interview, you know, I saw the Royce run, you know, whenever you were promoting the Allegory album. Obviously the album's out now, but whenever I was seeing you promote the album, I saw a lot of the interviews and they were real similar. You know, obviously they're just doing their job, but, you know, same questions. And I knew that when I got to this moment where I interview you, I wanted to talk about some of the other stuff, you know, because you are a family man. And you know, one thing that I've seen and I've witnessed is you FaceTime your daughter and you telling me in the car, like, you might not remember this, was probably 2015, 2016, and you're like, this shit don't get any easier, man. It don't get any easier being away from my kids, you know what I'm saying? Like, and just having that veteran standpoint and where you're at now, I mean, that's what I want to bring to this conversation above all. So, you know, just want to let you know that before we really get going, you know?
Hey, that's cool with me. Let's talk about it. Shit, that's you know, shit. I had another daughter since then.
Oh, wow.
Since that FaceTime, that was 2015.
Yeah, 2015.
Yeah, I got a daughter that's 2. So,
well, let's talk about kids, man. I told you that one of my favorite songs of all time of yours is actually the song that you did for your son. And that's actually a song that's really meaningful. It's called Life. It's off the first album. Yeah. That's a song that I bond with my son with. Like, I relate to that song. I saw he was in your video a few years ago, the Tabernacle video. Was that him that you posted on Instagram that was singing recently? Wow. Is that something he's trying to do? Is he pursuing music, or is it something that he got that Montgomery gift?
He pursuing it. He in my B room right now.
Oh, wow. So is that something you're involved? Obviously, you're involved in it, but, you know, is that something that
I'm not involved in? I mean, I'm involved in it in terms of being his dad. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody about to put him in a bad contract and no shit like that. But yeah, I'm not involved in it. I'll let him do his thing. I give him a whole lot of advice. You know what I mean? But he wants to fly on his own. You know what I mean? So that's really that's one of your muscles as an artist that you can flex. You know, you could choose to do it however you want to do it. You know what I mean? Like, the hard part is just to, like, somehow get yourself on a platform. If you build yourself up to you somehow having a platform and people are willing to listen to you, then it's your right to do it the way that you want to do it, that best suits you and puts you in the happiest place possible. You know what I mean? So, I mean, that's really what it's about. So, you know, you can express yourself in many, many ways. You know what I mean? So my thing is just, the only, agreement me and him have is, like, I always stay out of his way, but nothing can be signed without me seeing it first and me knowing about it first. That's the only thing I care about. Other than that, it's his journey. You know what I mean? Like, nobody can create that for him. Nobody can build that for him. Nobody can tell him how to do it. All I can do is tell you about my journey, and you can take from what I'm telling you and apply that to yours. But you somehow got to find your own way still. That doesn't give you a pathway. It just gives you an idea of one way that it's been done so far. You know what I'm saying? But everybody's journey is different.
So are you producing any music for him at all? So it's just 100% all him?
We haven't done anything.
Wow. I didn't even know he was actually recording. I just saw the video. I was like, damn, I didn't know his son had it like that. You know, I thought it was really dope, and it was really
he was producing before me. When he was young, like real early teens, he was in the kitchen, beat on the table. And as soon as I seen him doing that, I was like, get your stuff on. And I took him straight to the Guitar Center. I had my engineer meet us up there, and I bought him a whole setup. I bought him a machine. I pretty much bought him everything. And he took it home, and it stayed in boxes for like maybe a year. He didn't unpack it for like a year. And then one day I was just like, I think I was in the kitchen and I just started hearing like snares and shit. I'm like, what the fuck? he was in the basement hitting on pads. And then, you know, from there, once he figured out the machine, he probably looked at some tutorials online or something. Once he figured out the machine, shit, maybe a year later, he was making beats, dope, like hard ass beats. You know what I'm saying? And then, you know, he started writing. He always sang, but he just started writing. And I mean, shit, he a monster now.
That's dope, man. Well, you know, I want to talk about the importance of family to you. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, when I go back to that moment whenever we were in the car and, you know, we were dropping you off at the hotel. It was one of the show bookings that I had you in town for. And, you know, your daughter had FaceTimed you. It always stood out to me. And, you know, I've read that, you know, just all, you know, watching your interviews as far as your touring history and how you tour, just how important work-life balance and professional and having that family balance, how important it is. You know what I mean? Because I think a lot of times artists, especially these younger guys that come in the game, some of these guys that really look up to you, they don't really, how would I say, they don't really balance it out as they don't make it as much of a priority is what I'm saying. And that's why a lot of, like, unfortunately, relationships fall apart, relationships deteriorate, whether it be with, you know, father and kids, father and, you know, or husband and wife, or whatever the case may be, or relationships in general. How important is it to you to just, you know, to balance that out? You know what I'm saying? To really have that as far as a focal point of your career.
Well, it just depends on it depends on the individual. You know, speaking for me personally, I learned through my journeys that it's a part. It's just a part of my journey. It's a part of it. It's a part of everything. You know, so like, um, when when I first came in, I did the same thing. I kind of separated them. I kind of kept them separate. I think we just unconsciously, not even thinking, we do that. You know, because like we automatically go into two people and live a double life because, you know, like there's certain things about the game that doesn't really uh doesn't really work on this side. You know what I mean? So like the things that we get in and we get in the game and we're chasing or is being marketed to us, and you know, like the temptation that's coming to us, I think we kind of look at it, it kind of subconsciously makes us um adapt to the game one way and then come home and then, you know, like turn that off and then now you're back home. You know what I mean? Like, so like when you're doing that, you just living a double life. So what I found out is that when you chasing your dream, whoever you choose is your significant other is like, that's one of the tangible choices that involves whether you're going to be successful or not. It's not separate. It's a part of it. So it's like once I realized that, then I basically just started realizing like that when my wife is not happy and when shit is not right at the house, I'm distracted to a degree. And then so when I'm distracted, I'm not able to do things as effectively as I would normally be able to do things. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's important for younger artists to understand that maybe it's best not to be in a relationship if you're chasing your dream. But if you happen to be in a relationship, you got to understand how important it is, the choice of the person that you choose. And then that person has to also understand how important they are to the equation. You know what I mean? Because the woman is like, man, she's like the, if you a vessel, you an artist and you a vessel, she's like the conduit. She's like the connection to you. She can either poison the well for what you putting out,
Sure.
or she can add life to it. You know what I mean? Like, that's basically how it is. You know what I mean? So if she's like complaining, things aren't happening in this way and things aren't happening that way, that's going to slow things down. You know what I mean? Like, everybody has to have an understanding. It's just being on the same page. And that's what marriage is. Marriage is, a successful marriage is just being on the same page. It's not going out and getting rich. That's not going to bring happiness to your marriage. It's just being on the same page. You know what I mean? So if you can stay on the same page with your girl or whoever you got living with you, then everything out there is a lot easier to balance because there's an understanding. You know what I mean? And And it's like just understanding that it's easy to stay out ahead of it as long as you understand that it's a part of it. You know,
Yeah.
because I was just not even, paying it no mind at all. You know what I mean? Because I never even looked at it like that until things started happening to let me know, it all matters. This is not like it's not like a job, you know, like it's a lifestyle. Like you're building a brand. You're not like a employee of the people. You're actually like a walking brand, like a you know what I mean? Like, so you have to understand that there is no clock. It's a way of life. You either live it or you don't. And if you don't live it, then whatever time you decide to put into it, that's all you're going to get out of it, whatever that is.
Well, I think the more that you live, you're also able to articulate and self-evaluate and self-assess better. And so I know from experience that when the personal life isn't in place, that foundation is in place, regardless of whether or not you separate the business or your career or whatever it may be, it does take a toll on it in some capacity. So just knowing that, I think it's important because I think, like I said, you've taken a real veteran standpoint over the last few years. I hear you talk, and I just see how many artists that I've met, that I've seen at your meet and greets, that have really been touched and moved by your testimony. Your testimony of sobriety, your testimony of where you went to where you're at to now where you're going. Because in my opinion, at this point in your career, and we're going to get to the boxing shit here in a second, because you definitely remind me of a specific boxer. I think there's a parallel, but I feel like the further you're getting into your career, you're flourishing more. And it's a beautiful thing, man. Like, anytime I see you on TV, anytime I see you winning, man, I feel like part of the victory to a certain extent, because I've seen the journey. You know what I'm saying? I've seen the journey, but I think a lot, no pun intended, but there's a lot more layers to that, than people realize. And I think it starts with that, like some of the stuff that you just mentioned,
Yeah, because when we start off, it's more of a fight than anything, because we don't know what we want to do, we just know that we want to make it, and that's just too general. It's too broad of a thought. You know what I mean? The thoughts have to, you have to disentangle all of that and get to specifics in order to be able to take the steps. You know what I'm saying? So that's pretty much what I tell Royce, my son. It's like the last situation that he was thinking about getting into. I was just like, look, man, like, what do you want to do? And it was like he couldn't understand what I was asking. I'm like, listen, I'm asking you, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? So I'm like, do you want to be an artist? Do you want your own company? Do you want to start like a production company? Do you want to have your own label someday? Do you want to be like some underground niche artist? Do you want to be a big pop star on the charts? Like, what do you want to be? What do you want to do? What is the goal here? What do you want? You know what I mean? And then, of course you can't answer that question, but that's good. It's good because now you can't answer that question, and that's a step. But you also know that you have to be able to answer that question. So now you're of the thinking that you need to start asking yourself those kind of questions.
Yeah.
You can't just go. That's trial and error. That's a death sentence. You can't just make adjustments as you go. You have to find a way to take in information. You have to educate yourself, So that's one of the reasons why I'm always so vocal, because I feel like the younger guys they just behind the eight ball, in a crazy way, because they're being taken advantage of due to their lack of information. That's what the labels do. They take advantage of artists, when we come in, because we're not privy to a lot of the things that they're privy to, and they know these things, but they don't provide that information because that's what they use to thrive off of. That lack of information is how they, put certain cycles and they put certain standards in place that by the time you realize, hey, listen, man, I'm coming up with the shortest end of the stick here. All I got out of this was fame. You know what I mean? And then at that same moment, you also realize that this shit was never about being famous. You know what I mean? Like fame just comes with it. It's never what you were here to do. You know what I mean? So like once you realize that, now you got to start fixing things. You got to start fixing things, and you're making more adjustments. And it's better to know.
Yeah.
And it's the same with the music. It's the same with the music. It's like if you need somebody in the studio to tell you if it's right, then that means you just don't know. So that's you gambling. If you know who you are and you know exactly what you're presenting to people and what you want to say, and it's your truth, it's you can't fail.
Sure.
There's no wrong. There's no wrong. Nobody can tell you nobody can tell you that your truth is wrong.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? We're going to revisit this here in just 1 second. I want to get into talking about boxing. That's something that me and you have a commonality in, something that we both love. When I think of Royce the 5'9", I was really thinking about this the other day. I was like, man, whose career would you say that your career is parallel to in pro boxing? Like if there was a pro boxing version of Royce the 5'9", who would that be? And then the light bulb went off. And I said, it's probably because Vish always fucking does the little alien icon. Bernard Hopkins. I was thinking B-Hop. You know what I'm saying? Because B-Hop was always so good, but it just took a while for everybody to realize how great he really was. And it's like towards like the further that he went into his career, the more he was appreciated, the more that he was celebrated, the more that he became, in a sense, mainstream, and everybody really caught on. That's my opinion. I don't mean any offense because I don't know if you're not a B-Hop fan.
Nah, man. B-Hop is a Hall of Famer, man. I love B-Hop. No offense taken. I can see that. I can see that. I think with B-Hop, a large part of the problem where he wasn't being recognized by people outside of just casual fans, like they didn't see him like we seen him, because he stayed at one weight.
Mm-hmm.
Stayed at one weight. He only fought at 160. He was just defending the title 10 years straight at 160. So that's very similar to me, because like I was drinking like 10 years straight and I just stayed in one place, you know, like, and when I stopped drinking, a lot of light bulbs went off and I started taking steps. And that's what happened with B-Hop. He hit a spot where he just started challenging himself a little bit more. He started moving around in weight. He started taking tougher fights. And when you do that and you step up to the plate in that kind of way, people have no choice but to pay attention, you know. So
pretty accurate.
After he beat De La Hoya, I mean, he had to go into business with him.
Yeah.
You know, because Oscar, you know, like, I know a lot of people don't like Oscar now, but he's a slick motherfucker boxer. He's a slick. He was slick. He was really, really slick. And B-Hop was just like, he was too much for him. You know what I mean? I know he was bigger, but yo, it was just like that body shot. It was like he just, pop. You know what I'm saying? It was kind of like, and the look of agony in De La Hoya's face, and it was almost like it hurt. You know, those shots they put you down if you place it right. It hurt, but he was also shocked that he got caught like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's a master. You got caught by a master.
Well, man, you'd be proud to know, man, I've been running a lot of interviews with a lot of pro boxers. I had actually did something with the Zone recently at the Mikey Garcia fight over here in Dallas. And so I interviewed Mikey. I was able to do some really dope shit with them. But when we talk about pro boxing here for a second, you know, you're a fan. You know, I know I wanted to get your thoughts on Wilder and Fury. They're going to fight again when this is all done. Who do you think was the third fight? Because I know you had to watch that second one.
I didn't even see the second one.
Oh, you didn't watch it?
Nah. I saw highlights. I saw clips, but I didn't watch the actual fight.
We could go to Spence. We could go to Spence and Crawford. Let's just talk Spence and Crawford for a second.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I'm a fan of the of Wilder Fury, but I don't know, man. I don't know, that heavyweight division is just weird, man.
Well then who you got in Spence and Crawford?
I got Crawford.
Number one pound for pound fighter in the world. I said this with an interview. There's this kid out of Grand Prairie, Texas. I want you to catch on to. Keep him in mind. His name is Virgil Ortiz, and he's a welterweight, man. He's 15-0 with 15 knockouts.
I heard of Virgil Ortiz.
Virgil's about to be a serious problem for everybody at 47. But I remember I did an interview with him, and I took a quote from Andre Ward, and he said something really interesting about Terrence Crawford that really popped to me. He said that the difference between Crawford and a lot of the other fighters, is the fact that Crawford, he lives a fighter lifestyle. He's not trying to live like the rappers, you know what I'm saying? Like, and obviously he was alluding to certain boxers that are a little bit more flashy, a little bit more flamboyant. He said,
a lot of athletes, most of the athletes, period.
Yeah, for sure.
They subscribe to that lifestyle.
And when he's saying that he is true to the fighter lifestyle. So if, Spence and Crawford were to ever fight, he feels like the first half of the fight would be Spence just off of size or whatever the case may be. But he said the second half of the fight, he would see it unfolding in favor of Crawford because he's saying that the fighter lifestyle would come out. So I just wanted to get your opinion on that because I think that right now, Floyd actually came out probably about 2 weeks ago and said that he said Crawford's the number one pound for pound fighter in the world.
Of course he is, man. I mean, listen, man. No disrespect to Dre Ward because he's another master. He's a master, and he's a scientist. The way he breaks shit down. The only part of that I don't agree with is just his conditioning being the only thing that's going to play a factor in the fight.
Yeah.
Yes, it's going to be a factor. That always plays a factor when one fighter is better conditioned than the other. How you're living your life. It's going to show. It's going to come out in the ring. So I agree that Spence will probably be stronger the first half of the fight than he will be the second half of the fight. But I don't think Crawford. I don't think just because Spence is stronger in the first half of the fight, that means that he's going to be winning the first half of the fight. Because Crawford is like his skill. Like that's the problem. Like if he partied with them, he still would be number one pound for pound. Like the dude has everything. He has everything. You know what I mean? Like the only thing that people can ever say to criticize him is, oh, if such and such hit him, then I can hit him. Or if such and such dropped him. Bro, I'm telling you, man, listen. Crawford, one thing I noticed about him, man, is he's a dog. And like people that fight like him don't usually have that kind of dog. So what I noticed about him is if he feel like he don't mind getting hit. So if he feel like he can take your punch, he don't mind getting hit. But if he uncomfortable with your punch, he can make it very difficult for you to hit him. And I just think with Spence, I don't think he's going to take those same kind of risks because we all know Spence is he can punch. Like that's like obvious. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the obvious thing that you're going to do is try to cut off, like his life supply, his lifeline, because just walking you down is his lifeline. And like Terrence Crawford can fight backing up. He can counter. He can come forward. Man, I don't like, and Spence is number 3 to me. So, but I just don't see how he can win.
Who's number one? Canelo?
No, Crawford is number 1. Canelo is number 2.
Oh, Canelo. So you got Canelo knocking out Triple G in the third fight.
Yeah, man. Hell yeah, I'll knock him out. We gonna stop him.
I want to switch subjects though, man. I want to talk about the studio, man. I know you've had Heaven Studios now for a while. Are you like operating as a label, or is it just a studio, or is there plans to launch it as a label? You produce other artists, or possibly get involved with putting other artists out.
Yeah, I'm functioning as a label. The album came out through my label, so yeah, we functioning as a studio and as a label. But right now, I got Ashley Sorrell, who appeared on the album, and I'm focusing on her. It's just this damn quarantine thing. She ain't been able to come up here, but I'm focusing on her. Her album is pretty much finished. You know what I mean? But everything slowed us down, you know what I mean? And I can't like mix shit myself, and I don't want to have an engineer to come up here. I literally got like ideas to songs written that I haven't recorded yet because I don't have an engineer. So I'm like working on like trying to record vocals myself and get them to sound like how I want them to sound. And as far as the label, one thing that I don't want to do is I don't want to move, put the carriage in front of the horse and move too fast and bite off more than I could chew, or just kind of like commit to more than I can handle at once. One thing that I learned about myself is that I'm not a very good multitasker.
Yeah.
I find that I get the most success out of things that I hyper focus on. Just hyper focus on something that I want to do, and then I can usually figure out for the most part how to do that pretty well if I'm passionate about it. And then like one of my passions is working with other artists and helping them just build their own platform and have a great career, a long career, and to make all the right decisions. And I know I can't 100% apply that to anyone while I'm making albums, so like I'm functioning as a label, but I'm taking baby steps on the label side, and I'm just wrapping up. I'm wrapping up, the last of the raps, whatever that is. Like it's sooner than later. It's sooner than later. I don't think I have so much more to say, but I'm definitely put it like this. It's going to get to a point where what I can do for other people is going to be more beneficial to the culture than me rapping. It's going to get to that point. And that happens with all of us, like, like you contribute to the culture, you contribute, and you have to continue to contribute. And if the raps aren't serving as the same kind of contribution as wisdom to somebody else, then, I'm doing them a disservice and I'm doing the culture a disservice. You know what I mean? Like I'm never going to force raps on people. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna get it out, the last few, whatever they are, and then I'm gonna just start focusing on that. You know what I mean? And, I'll probably do it one artist at a time just to start off, and from there, we'll try and build it. I'm gonna try to put a really dope team in place. So I got a few people already, but yeah, I'm not rushing. I'm just,
I think part of the reason why I ask is because I want to know, just for me, I want to know like what is the one main quality, that main trait that you look for in when you identify a talent. When you identify a talent, like this person has potential. Obviously there's actual and there's potential, right? Like, what is the determining factor for you to say, you know what, I want to put my fingerprints on that situation. I want to get involved with this person's career and help develop them or help mold them because, me and you both know there's been plenty of talented people over the course of the years that have kind of come and gone, and there's certain things that they lack, whether it be like discipline, stability. So I just kind of want to know what is that one thing that you look for when identifying a talent.
well, I don't look for anything specific, but I'm a very instinctive person, intuitive and instinctive person, and I just follow my instincts, So there could be many things about an artist that I could be drawn to. There just has to be something that I'm drawn to, and then once I'm drawn to you, or I see things in you, there's too many things that could be, like there's too many things as an MC that could be. There's too many things as a rapper that could be. There's too many things as a singer that could be. There's too many things as, you know what I mean? So like with Ashley, I noticed right off the bat that she was very distinctive with her vocal tone, and she was very stylish with the pen. Like she has a stylish pen. Like her pen is like very, very like stylish is the only word I can think of. Mm. Like it's like she has so many different eras of music in her lexicon to pull from. You know what I mean? It's like she's an old soul. So like that's what I immediately noticed in her, is that she was extremely talented. But that's not enough to get me to want to like sign you, you know. But when she started coming around, the first thing that I wanted to do, she was living in Atlanta. So I wanted to bring her here and just put her in a position to where she can just have somewhere to record. So, you know, like she can just start to develop. So when she came back, she came to Detroit. She lived here. She started recording, and she just started getting better, like really, really fast. Started doing all these crazy songs. And then like I started spending time around her, and her personality, her personality is what got me, because it's like she's very, very laid back. She's very, very laid back. She doesn't really talk. She doesn't talk more than she listens, you know?
Yeah.
And if you're having a conversation with her, she's not waiting to talk. She's listening, and then she's talking. You know what I mean? And then she has this energy that's like, I feel like that it's gonna fill a void, because she's not going. She's a very beautiful girl, but she's not going. Her the way she carries herself doesn't say, "Hey, everybody, look at me! I'm so pretty. Look at me! Look at me! Look at what I want! Look at you know what I'm saying?" Like, and I feel like that's what, you know, like the major labels are like placing in front of you the most right now. And I feel like in order to provide balance, there needs to be something out there that doesn't do that, that doesn't send that message. You know, I think the fact that they're all out there right now and they're like self-made and they're queens. You know, they're queens. The hot girl summer shit. And, you know, they're shaking their ass. They're doing what they want to do. They're being free. There's value to that. You know what I mean? But there's a downside to that if there's no balance. So I mean, you know, I think she's gonna be real good to provide that balance, because she can pretty much do anything. She can sing, she can rap, she does whatever she feels like doing. But she's just cool, you know what I mean? And I think kids or just fans in general, we like cool too. We don't necessarily always, everybody doesn't have to always have like fake body parts, and you know what I mean, like shaking their ass in the camera. You can be a good artist and be cool as hell. Like Lauryn Hill, very beautiful, cool as a fan. But you know, like you don't follow Lauryn Hill and go, yo, she's fine. You know what I'm saying? Like that's obvious. You know, Erykah Badu is beautiful. That's obvious, but it's not like her thing. You know what I mean? That's not like what she's using to market herself. You know
That's
what I
not her
mean? Like,
selling point. That's not her selling point.
yeah, she's not making you. Yeah, she's not directing you to that. You know what I mean? And it's nothing wrong with that. But I just feel like it's always good to have a balance. It's always good to have a balance.
You know, I asked that because, you know, a few years ago, me and Crook, you know, this isn't, you know, after a show, I drove him to Austin and we had a conversation. And, you know, I had been expressing to him that I had been asked, you know, I've been asked for years to manage careers, you know, to get involved with artist careers. And, you know, I've been asked by some national acts, and I've always been really reluctant and hesitant to make the leap. And I was explaining to him like, hey, there's a few artists, and I had even showed him and introduced him to some of those artists. And every time he would be like, well, what's wrong with that person? I would always find something that was wrong. And he's like, I think it's you. You know what I mean? But it's not really me, because one of the things about artistry and people that pursue it and people that are really trying to do it, not only as a profession, but in general, uh, I look at the initiative. That initiative as being one of the key factors in whether or not I want to invest into a talent in any capacity. And I say that because I'm a firm believer that the reason why people come up short, not only in music, not only in really in whatever field, is because of lack of initiative and a lack of knowledge. But I feel the lack of knowledge really stems from the lack of initiative to learn things needed to gain the knowledge. You know what I'm saying? So when I meet talent, I found myself for so long making excuses for people that I knew, saying, man, they're not here because of a boyfriend, a girlfriend. They're not here because of this or that. And after a while, I was like, no, they're not there because of them. That one thing that just takes that that initiative to make them go and make them want it. Like, you just cannot make someone want it. So when I ask, like, hey, what's that one intangible, that one thing that you look for in a talent before you say, you know what, I'm going to put my arm around this talent. Granted, this talent is extremely good at X, Y, Z from a musical standpoint, but they have that it factor in regards to, I know I'm not going to waste my time with them. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, your time is so valuable at this point in your life. You know, you could be giving that to your children. You could be giving it to your own career. You could be giving it to a number of things. Like you said, you're closer to the tail end of your career than you are to the beginning of your career. Mm-hmm. So that's why I asked that question, you know, what is that thing that you look for? Because it's important that you know that, I guess, or that we all know that, you know?
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think that's why I said the personality portion of it is really important, because you can tell pretty quickly if there'll be things that'll stick out about someone's personality where you will be able to tell, like, oh yeah, this person, yeah, this is like, if especially if they got that kind of personality where it just kind of jumps out, which, you know, it usually does. You can just tell by the way they carry themselves. You can tell by a lot of their patterns. You can tell by the things that they're interested in. You can tell by the things that they're distracted by. You can just tell if talent, if how talented they are is not going to even play a factor. You know what I mean? Like, and that's why it's not just about being talented. You know, it's about, is this person mentally ready to take on this challenge? You know, and it's pretty easy to tell. You know what I mean? So early on like this, I don't want to sign people, you know, based off of just like, you know, that person's talented and, you know, like there'll just be another person on the roster. You know, like you said, it's a time investment. It's a time investment. So it's just like, you know, if the vibe not right, or if the person is not in the mind frame that I think that they should be in, sometimes they're just not ready yet. It don't mean that they're not capable of maturing into that, but we have to wait until they mature into that. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's a patience thing too. Some people, you know, like a lot of artists, because they are special, they got those nuances to their personalities. It's just like, you got to take them in doses. You know what I mean? So, with me, when I find somebody that I connect with that's got, you know, this easygoing like that, laid back personality, they fit right in. You know, they're able to walk into the room and they're able to, like, I'm real big on this. Like, you have to know how to read the room. You have to know, you know, like when you come into a session or you walk into a room, you shouldn't be the direct clash of the flow. You know what I mean? Like, you got to be able to walk in the room and go right along with the flow, whatever that is. You know what I mean? And it's like, I've had certain artists, I won't say like who they are, but like certain artists that I'm cool with, that I like, but, you know, like when the few times they came here, it just didn't match. It didn't match. They were in the way. They were more in the way than they were with the flow, and didn't even realize it. You know what I mean? And probably didn't even realize that there was a flow. So when I see that somebody doesn't have that instinct, that tells me that there's a large margin of possibility of error, and really, really bad mistakes get made. Like, I always teach them to embrace the mistakes. You know, the mistakes, you know, that's not a bad thing, you know, but when it's like you're inviting in a larger margin and possibility of making mistakes, then that's a different kind of journey that I'm not prepared to, it doesn't go along with how I move right now, you know. You know, when you do meetings with labels and you sit down with labels and a label turns on you, they go, I'll pass. It doesn't mean like that you're not good enough to have a deal. It just means that what you do, they don't feel like it fits what they're doing. You know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, you know, just to conclude on the talent aspect, I think talent, you know, anytime, well, just for the talent that is watching, right, that has the aspirations, I think they have to know to be coachable, and they need to know how to defer. And like you said, go with the flow, because as long as they know how to defer to people, because a lot of times as creatives, there people want to be the one in charge, or especially when they're the artist. But it's always good to just kind of be in an environment where you're around people that are more experienced than you. That's how iron sharpens iron, right? So I just kind of wanted to touch on that. Now, real quick, I know that Crook just tweeted something out about an hour or two ago that says that health experts are predicting that they're predicting that live concerts, are not going to resume at soonest till fall of 2021. So that's what they're predicting right now. We haven't touched on COVID-19 this whole entire conversation. How has it obviously affected you? Obviously, we had the Allegory tour that was planned that's been postponed until further notice.
Mm-hmm.
How have you been staying busy during this? I know I've been seeing you do a lot of interviews and going Instagram Live. I saw you on the DJ Premier RZA battle. It's along with everybody else, right? So how have you been keeping busy during this?
I've just been in the studio, I've been just going through different ideas and just try to do all my thinking up here. I like to think up here, because I'm by myself, and I like to just look at this is a culture shift. This is a very important thing that's happening in terms of things that you should be paying attention to, like as an artist. Anytime there's a culture shift, you want to be right. You want to be hyper focused on everything that's happening as a result of the shift, because ultimately that's how you're going to know what void needs to be filled and where your place is and where you fit in within the scheme of this. Because a lot of people won't. They're not going to be. A lot of artists aren't going to be able to exist the same way they were able to exist prior to, because the world was different. Labels, were spending more money on marketing, and all of that is going to scale back for a minute. It's going to scale back for a minute, and the presence of the label it's not even going to be as felt as it was. So a lot of these guys, like, they got to find out something to do that people will want to be interested in. So a lot of people are going to have to find a way to reconnect, or we just reconnect to either their fan base or just a fan base. And I like just looking at everything online. I've always just used my phone, so it's like I just feel like the world is on the other end of an app. That's how I always looked at the shit. So it feels different post shift, because now, to me, it feels like we all in a little community. It feels really small. It feels like we're all in a little community, and the labels haven't figured out a way to exist here yet. So it's almost like it's back to the days when they used to go to the park and just watch the DJs DJ before hip hop evolved.
Yeah.
So right now, everybody's kind of like, you got people from the culture that are very successful in the culture and that have influence. It's just a couple people just basically just moving everybody from place to place, and everybody's just moving with them. Whether it be Tory and Drake, or Joe and Charlemagne, or Swiss and Timberland. And it's like, it's really, it seems like it's really easy to get people to go places as long as it's something that's real. So so it's like, I'm studying that, and I'm just trying to figure out. I'm not trying to figure out, but I'm sitting here thinking to myself, how I want to present music to this kind of a climate, and just new creative ways to do things, and to also continue what I've been doing, what I was doing prior to, just circulating information, and just I think a lot of the stuff I was preaching in terms of us conducting ourselves as one and thinking as a collective, and making sure that we take the steps to control the narrative. I mean, shit, I said it so many times in the interview. It's kind of like fucking pandemic happened, and now that's happening. Like we're doing exactly what I said, and we don't even know it. You know?
Yeah, that's crazy.
So it's like we're in control right now. The artists, the lunatics are running the asylum at the present moment, at the present time. So up until the CEO of Instagram gives somebody a check or something like that to kind of divide us up. Yeah, we're just doing everything on our time. You know, like we're moving everybody around. You know, like we're doing battles. We're doing,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like we're doing whatever we want to do.
You know, and I saw that you had posted whenever Tory got suspended. I think he had got suspended on Instagram, and you were like, "Yo, we got to get our own platform or something," because it's almost like at any given time they could just pause it. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like, where's everybody left at that point? Because you're right. I mean, everybody's just doing it on their own now, and as they're creating this culture shift at really whenever they hit their spots. You know, like last night, everybody was on there. You know what I'm saying? You saw the number that was on there. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's insane. You know what I mean? Like, so it's crazy to see that. But obviously, there's no way to predict how long this is going to actually last.
Yeah.
So I think as time progresses, and if this is still going on in a month or two, like I think we'll start seeing all of that evolve as well. You know, like because I'm sure these guys are seeing their reach. I'm sure these guys are seeing like, oh, shit, we're really that. I mean, we know we're valuable, but we didn't know that we were this damn valuable. Like,
Yeah, I think they know. I think they know how valuable they are. But I think sometimes we, you know, because when we come into the business, we're kind of programmed to think kind of short sighted, and we're programmed to think as individuals. You know, so I think sometimes we focus so much on our own individual success that we don't look we don't look at the possibilities of how valuable we can be as a collective. We don't think about it because we're just not used to dealing with people unless we have some type of invested interest in connecting with that person. Um, we just there's never been a time where we just looked at artistry within our culture as just a brotherhood. There's never been such a time, you know what I mean? So it's a new thing. It's a new thing that I think the right people just need to be looking at it at the right time, and have to be thinking like that at the right time. And you know, like all of the results, they'll show like these battles, the results, they're just showing you. They're showing you like all of the things that the labels, you know, market to you and spend money to lead you to believe. Yo, they can't do that right now. So they can't convince you that pop is bigger than hip hop. They can't convince you of that right now because it's not true. That's obvious.
yeah, that's real.
We're showing you, you know, like Taylor Swift goes on her live stream and shit like that. But yo, the whole culture, the whole world goes to see Tory because that's what, like, this is what I've been saying, man. Like I've been saying this about our culture. Like we always get told that there's no money in our community and you can't be successful until you're like some pop artist. And it's like, that's not true. You know what I mean? Like pop artists can use us all the time. We can't really use them like that.
Yeah,
That's very rarely do those situations work.
that's true.
We haven't figured out a way to be able to use pop because pop is not bigger than us. Listen, they do things to accumulate more numbers sometimes, but they also spend way more money. They spend way more money to create something that we just do naturally. It doesn't require that much money. So like if you take Taylor Swift and you put her, I don't mean to keep bringing her up like I have anything against her, but if you take Taylor Swift and Beyonce and they go to a mall, yo, bro, the truth is just gonna tell. The truth is gonna be right there. You know what I mean? Like that's energy. That's doesn't lie. Numbers are whatever. Numbers can mean anything. You know what I mean? Like, and it doesn't mean she's not talented. She's very talented, but she's not Beyonce. And like, there's not a pop Beyonce. There's not a pop Michael Jackson. There's not a pop Kanye West. Like, there's not a pop artist that's capable of doing anything that impacted the world, like College Dropout. You know,
Yeah.
like there may be something that exists that did more numbers, but it didn't connect the same way. That's what I'm saying. So as it pertains to that, hip hop is the most important thing in the world. Period. You know what I mean? So when I talk about our culture like that, they think I'm like against pop music or something. I'm so not. I'm not. I like some artists that people consider pop. I just like when they. The only thing I don't like is when people make records that sound like they're making a pop song. Like I don't like the pop drums and the pop string progressions and all of the same kooky little things that like somebody convinced somebody that this is the pop format. That shit came from like radio or something.
Yeah.
There's no like, bro, Bruno Mars is considered a pop artist. Bruno Mars is an amazing artist and the thing that makes him amazing is not because he's a musician and he can sing. It's because he knows what he wants to do and what he should be doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He knows what's cool and what's not cool. That's part of culture. Like if you can't measure cool, then you can't be more important. In hip hop, we determine cool. We give validity to things. You know, like we give credibility to things. We give credibility to the Grammys. We give credibility to everything. So what we need to understand is that we're the ones giving the credibility, and we need to start taking away the credibility. Stop just being so free flowing with it and place it where we would like it to be, and just control our own narrative with respect to everybody.
Well, man, we're this deep into the conversation. I have yet to mention Eminem. I've yet to mention Slaughterhouse. I've yet to mention Prime. You know what I'm saying? So I'm doing pretty good here because, that's usually what everybody does 5-10 minutes. You know what I mean? But, with that being said, you've been part of some supergroups, some of the, biggest supergroups, ever. Care to ever be in another one?
Who?
I said, do you care to ever be in another group, super group?
Be in another group?
Or do you have plans to ever release another group project? Maybe you and your brother, the Montgomery brothers or something,
I would do anything with my brother. I mean, we don't have to be considered a group. Like when you said group, it put me in a mind frame of building another brand.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's necessarily something that I want to do, but I would do group. I would collaborate with somebody and do something, but just not with the intention of completely trying to build a whole new brand.
Yeah, you would just do it naturally.
Yeah, we just do some shit. I would just do some shit. There's a lot of guys I like that.
Is there
Black Thought, I would do anything for Black Thought.
Black Thought. Speaking of Black Thought, you know what? We talk about this whole COVID-19 and how everything's kind of just happened the way that it happened. I have to give a shout out to my production team, man. We actually have a studio where we run our interviews at, and my guy Mo, he's the one that edits all my episodes. He films everything. You and Black Thought are actually in his top 5 of all time, and he was really looking forward to meeting you, Royce. So
he was gonna be out on tour.
Yeah, he was gonna. Well, whenever you guys touch down in Dallas, you know what I'm saying. I was planning to bring you to the studio, run the interview over there.
Okay.
He was really looking forward to meeting you, so I had to give him a shout out because I know he's gonna watch this and he's gonna be like, "Oh man, you didn't mention." You know what I'm saying?
I'm sure we'll meet, man, at some point.
Definitely, man. And then you got ties over here in Dallas Fort Worth, man. Obviously, S1. He's produced for you in the past. He's based out of Dallas. You know what I'm saying? Or that's where he's staying at now. And I believe you have some family out here, man.
For sure. I got a lot of people in Dallas. I got a lot of people everywhere, man. I'm an old man. I've been running around this country for 20 years.
And I got
people everywhere.
When I was gonna, whenever we had you in the studio, I was gonna have DOC come through, man. I was gonna make sure that we decked it all out for you, bro. So I had a gift for you and everything.
I'm not worthy, bro. I'm not worthy. Man, that's a different level of legend right there.
So let's talk about things now that at this point in your career you've accomplished a lot, man. You talk about different level of legend. You know what I'm saying? I consider you that. You know what I mean? Like I really do. I'm not just saying that because you're on the interview. You know, you, Joe, you know, Krug, you know, each one of you guys individually kind of inspired me to do different things that I'm doing now. You know, whether it be starting my company up and doing tour routes. You know, part of the reason why I started routing tours was because I wanted to book you and I wanted to book guys that I grew up listening to because I didn't feel that the promoters over here, the promoters in the state really valued um, you guys the way that I valued you guys. I look at you guys as the best of the best. And that goes for Joe Budden too, by the way, because I know he's gone on to do phenomenal things as a media personality and he's inspired me in that sense as well. But, you know, Joe's you know, one of the best rappers to ever do it, in my opinion, you know?
Yep.
But I say that to say this, you know, like career wise, you know, obviously you have a lot of accomplishments you know you've already accomplished, but is there anything else that you want to do before it's all said and done
Um,
outside of working with Jay-Z and Nas, because everybody keeps on saying that?
yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm a definitely, I'm gonna work with Jay-Z, not Jay-Z or Nas or both. At some point, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna just keep speaking that into existence.
Yeah.
Um, I don't really have like anything particular that's like sticking out in my mind right now. Um, I just like to like come into the element every day and just do like whatever I'm feeling and just kind of let it flow and let that manifest itself into whatever, you know, the next idea is, and then just plan it, attack it, you know. So rather that's, you know, another Bad Meets Evil, another Prime, another solo album, another bar exam, you know, like you just never know what it's gonna be. But just like sticking to um my same kind of system and just continuing to just release things, cool things. Just continue to release cool things, and then, you know, whatever that turns into, whatever that attracts and brings my way, if it's something, you know, like that's gonna help me to like continue shit in a positive way, and if it's gonna help better me in some way, or it's gonna help elevate me in some way that's gonna better the culture somehow, then I'm gonna be all for it. You know what I mean? And that I got an open mind to whatever that would be. You know what I mean? Like but I don't have anything that sticks out in my mind besides I'm excited about the possibilities of what, you know, what Ashley could do. So that's definitely a goal of mine. I just, you know, I don't want to put a time limit on it, but I'm gonna definitely that's gonna get, you know, all my focus.
Well, you know, you producing a whole entire project, I think that was a step in the right direction. You know, I think that was a challenge for you. I think that you were able to do that and do it at a high level, and I think that was amazing. I was really like, "Fuck, you just picked this up." You know what I mean? And knocked it
Yeah,
out. of the park. And
it
you
was.
got and you were on Eminem's album. You were on the new Eminem album on the production side too. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to do some more producing for some other artists. I want to do that for sure. I definitely I don't have like a picture in my mind of how I want that to go, or like to what degree that I want to really dive into producing. But, you know, I just like to create, man. You know, like I like to do it whatever way that it needs to be done, and whatever way that I feel is fulfilling. You know, so, you know, whether it's producing a whole album, like I produced a whole album on Crooked and his brothers group, Family Business. I did their whole album.
Oh wow.
So I already did that. You know what I mean? Like I worked with them. They came here. I worked with them for like shit, a couple of weeks, and that was fun. That was fun to do. Um, I was open. I'm just open to it, man. I'm open to it. I like to do some things outside of just music though, for the culture. I like to do some things for the culture. You know, I like to be involved in something that can start pushing the culture in a better direction, and can put us in better standings. Something that's gonna make it to where our kids are coming into here a little bit more informed and a little bit more conscious that, you know, this is our culture. You know what I mean? Like, not saying that I want to like do something to render the labels powerless. I just think it's an old system. It's an old system that's a derivative of a slave system, and those slave tactics are still in place. You know, so like, I just think there's too many practices that are like anti the forward movement of the artistry. You know, there's too much manipulation of the programming, too much, you know, making people believe that something is not, you know what I mean? Like, it's too many anecdotal facts, too many people in bad contracts, too many people afraid to make mistakes and create. It's too much evolution in technology that's affecting the art. It's making, you know, young producers not even aware that they need to learn certain things because they got programs that's doing certain things for them. You know, so they think that it's them that's like making those tight ass drum loops, and really it's just like you just dialed it in like a phone number, bro. You know what I mean? Like that's like laying drums to a metronome is like, that's an art that takes time to like get it tight. You know what I mean? When you get a program that already has it tight for you, you know, that affects development. You know, so I just want to be able to just help out, man, and just provide balance, and then, you know, just do cool shit. That's it.
Well, you know, I think the last thing that I wanted to end with here is that, you know, you talk about leaving your mark. I think one of the things I want to touch on before we get out of here is that it's just the importance of mental health. You know what I mean? Because, you know, I talked about it at the beginning of this interview. I said, man, you know, you pulled me on stage at a really rough part of my life. Nobody knew. You know, nobody knew what was going on. You know, I had just got done running successful tours for Nipsey. I did his Victory Lap tour in Texas. I had just did Joyner's tour out here. You know, Joyner was someone that I've been working with for years. I had just did a series of Dave East and stuff. Like, I went like on a tear. And on the outside looking in, it's like I'm winning. You know what I'm saying? But on a personal level, man, there was a lot of things that were going wrong. And you know, whenever you pulled me on stage, it meant so much to me. And then, you know, a few weeks ago, I was just thinking about it. I was like, you know, I was really articulating it, you know, because I just turned 35. So, you know, when my birthday rolled around, I'm just like, you know, what do I want to leave people with? And I always felt untouchable. You know what I'm saying? In terms of like, you know, I was always the source of inspiration for people. I've always been that for a lot of people. People look to me for hope, for opportunities. I help a lot of people out, and I take a lot of pride in that. You know what I'm saying? Because that's a trait that I feel that my mother instilled in me early on in my life. But when it comes to what I mean by saying I felt untouchable, I never felt depressed. I've always looked at depression as a negative stigma. Like, you know, it's associated with suicide, or it's associated with this bad idea of what it's supposed to be, when in all actuality, as time has progressed, I go, you know what, man, it's like when your car runs out of gas, man, you got to fill it up. Whenever a ball gets deflated, you got to inflate it. We all go through those phases in our lives where we get deflated. And I know from your story and your testimony, there's been a lot of people, I've seen people cry when they meet you because your testimony has touched them in a way that it's changed their lives. You know what I'm saying? And I say that because that day changed my life. It really kind of changed my perspective. And I said, I felt valued. You know what I'm saying? I felt really valued. But I want to talk about mental health and just the importance of that, you know, seeking help, taking care of yourself, so on and so forth. You know, so that you say what?
Well, I mean, I think you said a lot, man. You know, like I think you know, when you said, you know, like bringing you up on the stage, you felt valued. Um, I mean, without you even having to go into whatever it is you were going through personally, it's like I think we all got to get to that point in life where our value system, our us feeling valuable, and us um, identifying with what our value is and how valuable we are. It's a place. It's something that we got to look this way. You know what I mean? So like, like if I pull you on stage and I show you love because I got mad love for you, and then like that makes you feel valuable, then like that's cool. But that's the root of some of those feelings, because like I want you to appreciate um I want you to appreciate the respect that's given to you, but also I want you to expect it because you give it. It's just a reciprocation. So there's nobody that ever should be able to validate you in that way. Not saying that I validated you, but just to maybe validate is not the right word, but there's nobody that should be able to 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 perk you up in that way, especially if you're the guy that everybody goes to, and you're doing something that requires you to be as confident as possible. I think that happens to all of us though, because you probably thought that feeling was gonna come from making money, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't even know that it was going to come from making money. I just thought that I
You
don't know.
thought you
I don't know
thought
what I
money,
was even thinking. You know what I'm saying? It just
money was gonna solve your problems, and then you made something, you realized it didn't solve anything, right?
oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, money, it comes and it goes, man. You know what I'm saying? But to and maybe valued isn't so much the word as much as it was like at that moment in time, it was what I needed. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Because it's like the pressure of being here. You know what I'm saying? Even if it's just on a local or regional level, it's pressure. And your own expectations are just that, your own expectations. And I always tell people, like, you find yourself fighting for invincible titles, for things that don't really exist. You know what I'm saying? But I think at that moment in time, it was just a really difficult thing. And the reason I talk about mental health is because I think it's something that a lot of people don't like to talk on because they're embarrassed about it. You know what I'm saying? And this is one of the few times that I've spoken about it openly. I wouldn't say that I was like severely depressed, but I was there. You know what I mean? And that moment stood out to me as one of those moments that helped. And that's why I wanted you to know that. But I also wanted us to speak on the importance of mental health within the industry and just within the world, like within the world and how people deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's when you sign up to become an artist, you really putting all that on the line, you know. Because you're getting into some shit, and then you're chasing everything but what you're really here to find, and you don't realize that until you come to a certain place. So I think the goal here is to find happiness. That's the goal in life, but it's the goal, and it's the goal when you're chasing this career. You remember I was telling you, like, being on the same page at home, that's one element, and then things clicking, all of these things, like money can't fix some of these things. You know what I mean? Like more clients won't always fix these things. It's just about going through and kind of learning the essentials that you need in life in order to be happy, because once you can get there, then you can do everything to the height of your capabilities. You know what I'm saying? So like, those feelings that you were having, that's a distraction. You know what I mean? So I may have just brought you back to reality real quick. I may have just put my arm around you and just brought you back real quick. You may have just been distracted. It happens. And that's the reason why it's important to understand. That's a good lesson for you, because now that if you do have something on your mind or something is bothering you, it's going to affect things. It's going to affect the way you do your job. Um, and if you let it get to a certain point, you may need that pick me up, because sometimes that pick me up for other people is substance. Like some people go to the bottle every day to get that feeling that you got when I put my arm around you. Some people go to cocaine for that. So it's just about. I always tell everybody to just learn themselves, man. Learn themselves, and get comfortable talking about things. You know what I mean? Because some of that discomfort is part of the problem. It's us getting comfortable in our skin and us learning ourselves and being able to speak freely about things. I'm a rapper, so it's I was able to get to that place finally because I was not only I was writing, but I was talking to a therapist, but I was writing too. So I did a really personal album. And I started feeling the valid. I started feeling fulfillment and completing things and getting things off my chest. And I started to realize, like, okay, like this is really a form of expression for me. I have to treat it like that. I got to treat it like I'm getting these things out. I can't conduct myself like I'm a employee of the people. And you know, it's whatever you like, however you like, whatever you like. You know what I mean? Like, you want a radio record? You want this record? You want this? You want that record? You want this? You want that? You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not here to serve anyone. You know what I mean? Like, I'm here to like help out by being me, by spreading truth and, you know, like spreading stuff that's not, you know, detrimental to things. And I think it started when I started being open about my sobriety, and I really started to really like the way that it felt to be able to like help people, you know, from the sobriety standpoint. And it kind of turned into just an addiction, you know, like I like the way it feels I like the way positivity feels. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
shit is all right. It's way better than negativity. I tried that for a long time, you know, and it's just, I could function better. You know, I could sleep well at night. You know, I never really did wrong by people except, you know, if I'm being violent, you know, drunk and violent. But I never had a history of doing wrong by people, and I think I just lucked up with that characteristic. You know, that's one of the things that my dad that I got from my dad, that moral compass and that just the integrity and having something to stand on and really just being about that. You know what I mean? So I never really been with doing certain things. So, you know, even though like I've let people get me off my square and react to things and do things, I've never done anything to where I can't sleep at night. Like, you know, like nobody could say like I robbed them or, you know what I mean? Like I took their girl or fucked their wife or, you know what I mean? Some grimy shit. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody could say that about me at my lowest of lows. I never was that type of person. So, you know, I think it all matters. You know what I mean? Like just being you, not getting outside your character and learning you. I think you know you can always take the steps. But yeah, mental health, man, that's a part of it too. You know, like if you're not conscious of it, of staying out in front of it and really just, you know, knowing when you feel this way and knowing when you feel that way, like it get out of hand on you.
Yeah, man, it'll take a toll on you, man. And I think to your point, you said, you know, whenever you were expressing yourself, you started finding fulfillment in that. I think it took me a while to realize that productivity, production, and just being productive in general, that's what motivates me. That's what fulfills me. And production doesn't just necessarily mean, you know, producing an event, producing a tour, producing music, producing an
Yeah,
artist.
because you could be on autopilot doing all that shit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking about, you know, being productive with, you know, with my child, being productive with whatever. I just think the term production, being
Mm-hmm.
productive, that's what fulfills me. And, you know, doing this interview tonight, you know, is what is, you know, another one of those testimonies, because since I started this platform, you know, over a year ago, you were the one guy that I wanted on the show I was waiting. I didn't want to start from the jump. I was like, I'm going to wait, get a few episodes under my belt. Lo and behold, I'm 30 plus. I've interviewed a number of people, and it's an honor to have you on here, Royce. It really is, man. You know, I've said it time and time again. You know, I'll say it to the day I'm out. You know, I look up to you. You're one of the greatest of all time, and you know, to have worked with you and to have known you this long, to see your journey, it really has been an honor.
Well, thank you, man. Thank you. I feel the same way, man. The respect is mutual, and you know, when I found out that when you told me that you were doing this, you know, I didn't think twice about it, you know, because I just, you know, I feel like anything that that we want to do, that we put our minds to, um, I'm going to always give you the credit of feeling like you can do it. and do it on the highest level. You know what I mean? And I just feel like, like we think it's a collective. We all just a village. You know what I mean? We all just like we like a fellowship. You know what I mean? Like every time we do tours, we link up. That we developed a business relationship. We developed a very healthy working relationship. And that it can function in many ways. We never had to speak to each other, and it could still be great for us. But it just so happened that we connect. We talk about boxing. I consider you a friend. You know what I mean? So like, I appreciate the words. I don't even I don't even really usually know what to say. In these types of situations, because it's just like I don't look at myself like, you know what I mean? Like we come out there, we go knock the shows down, we rap. Some people like it, some people not into it, but at the end of the day, man, like I just fuck with you. You know what I mean? I fuck with you. You always do a good job. You know what I mean? Your opinion on boxing is always decent.
Decent.
At least decent.
It's valid.
You know what I mean?
I was a Pacquiao guy. You were a Mayweather. I gotta give you credit on that one.
Yeah, but that's you get a pass for that. Like that's like that was the whole world. The whole world was like divided. You know what I mean? One or the other.
Well, check this out, man. I want to show you something from my webcam before you jump off, man. I had actually had a gift lined up for you. Had you come in studio to run the interview, which eventually we'll do. Mm-hmm. I want to show this to you. I don't know if you can see it. Look, we had just got you that.
Is that a jersey?
That's a Detroit Royce 5'9" on the back of it. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah. Oh, it's like a Tigers jersey.
Yeah, it's a Tigers jersey.
Like a baseball jersey. Okay.
It's coming in, so I might have to get your address and mail it to you, because we were going to give it to you, man. It's coming in the mail this week.
Well, thank you, man.
So,
thank you. I appreciate it.
Just a little token of our appreciation. I know that you said that one of these days I can go to Heaven Studios, and I have every intent to eventually go down there. And, when the time's right and I find the right talent to bring to you, I would like to, for you to check out some of the talented guys out here, man. There's a lot of talented, hungry lions out here, man, that are ready to get a crack at it, man. I mentioned some of those to you in the past. I mentioned them to Keno. I was like, hey, man, you got to check this person out. It's someone worth looking at, but nothing's manifested yet. But when the time's right, I'm going to give you that call, bro.
Well, you're more than welcome anytime, man. And, whenever you get somebody you ready, I'll be all ears, man.
Sounds good, man. Thank you for your time so much, man. I appreciate it. This right here is the GOAT. To show it, you know what I mean?
My brother, man. Love and respect.
Man. Thank you so much, bro.
Yeah, cool.